Hey everyone, this is me Jay once again coming to you from my channel that is Liformation. So after I did my last video basically on goal setting, I got some feedback from some of you saying on things that I should be improving. Well, those things I take constructively and I will be looking to have those changes done. Also, one other thing that I must tell you is the quality of my videos, which I am working on, but since it's a start, you gotta bear up with me. Try and focus on the content for now. Right, so um, the topic that I'm going to be talking to you today is about the power of perception. Um, when I say perception, everything is how you see it, right? It is basically how you see it in the landscape of your mind. So when I talk about the mind, well, I touched on some of these topics in my last video, but when you say mind, there is a lot of layers that's sitting inside of your mind. So a child, if you take at a very young age, has very few layers of it. But as you grow, your your inputs come from all your senses. So your eyes, your nose, the taste from your tongue and what you hear, your feelings. So all these serve as inputs. So that's like data coming in, and they build layers of pictures, and there are these memories that are built in your mind. So when you see something, you see through these layers, right? So we may not be aware of it because most of our lives we live unconsciously. Believe it or not, that's how it is. We function consciously on a very small level. Well, I think it's even below 1% of our activities that we conduct consciously, and most of it is well, happening unconsciously. Well, that's actually most of the problem, you see. But I'll reserve that for a video which I will want to speak to on a separate level. But yeah, so continuing on with this. Um, um, so the mind has several layers, and when you look at something, or let's say when an adult looks at something, you know, you are looking at an object or a scenario through several layers, right? So how would you know that what you're seeing is as what it is? Well, you don't. You don't actually know. Well, because see, as a matter of fact, you know how it is, right? So if I just take the visual apparatus, your eyes, so when you say that you're seeing something, there's a source of light which is actually coming at you, or it may be reflecting of something and coming at you. It goes through your eyes, I mean the lens in your eyes, and the inverted image which forms at the back of your eye. So that forms a picture, but your brain then processes that information, that light, and tells you what it is. Now, how does it know of what it is seeing, right? So if you look at an apple, right, how do you know that that's an apple? It is because you have seen an apple before, and that image goes into your brain. It goes into the memory banks, the memory files. It accesses a similar image that it has seen before, and it retrieves that image saying, okay, I've seen this before, and somebody told me that this is an apple, so what I am seeing is something similar, so this is an apple. But it all happens very, very fast, right? You know, you have a supercomputer sitting inside of you, but very few rarely recognize it. Now, if I look at it, um, the interface, or let's say the layer between your brain and your visual apparatus. I'm just taking the visual apparatus because for us men, it is very easy to um, relate to. But if I'm speaking to some ladies out there, maybe it is the sense of smell that is more prominent, right? So perhaps you can relate to it when I speak about the eyes as a visual apparatus. So the interface, that is your eye, the layer that the image forms when it comes through your eye, is actually serving as a mirror, right? There are several layers of mirror too, because now let's say if you're looking at yourself in a mirror, right, you see yourself, right? At least that's what you think you see. It is. But what if the surface of the mirror is a bit distorted? You know, when I mean distorted, it's like it has some bends or some bulges on the surface of the mirror. So what happens then is, do you see yourself um, as yourself? I think not. You see a distorted image of yourself. You know, sometimes your eyes may be big and your nose may be somewhere here, or your chin may be somewhere here. You know, so that's because you're not seeing it through a perfect mirror. Well, believe it or not, your mind is something like that. How does that happen? It's because, as I mentioned earlier, when your mind is conditioned through years of um, images and subjective thoughts that you have, you know, processed on and on through different experiences, your mind processes these inputs the way it knows how to from previous experiences. I'll repeat that. Your mind processes it based on how it has done previously. So if I'm relating to some ladies out there, you may, let's say, you may associate certain smells with a bad experience. You may relate certain audio or songs with some positive experiences or some negative experiences for that matter, because it may remind you of certain things. That's how it works. See? So similarly, when you're seeing certain things, see, that's what I mentioned, that interface is sometimes distorted. So coming back to the topic of discussion, that is exactly what perception is. So perception is quite subjective to, I would say, more than 98% of the people out there. It's very subjective. What do I mean by subjective? What I say is, you see what you want to see, not necessarily what is available right there. So you don't, when you're looking at it, you know, you don't necessarily see it for what it is. So you see something based on your, see, so that subjective perception is what many people, well, there are gurus out there who actually make a living out of it, because you create a perception based on you know, you learn to interpret, you learn to read perception, and you form judgments based on it. And then you also have, oh, and another thing I forgot to mention is when you have a hardening of perception inside your mind, um, that also, well, is kind of negative, because when it translates into personality, you send you tend to be very biased and very rigid in terms of um, judging certain people, or let's say you only want to see it one way, or it's my way or highway. So a lot of, if you say, disputes may arise because of perception based issues, but uh, that's one side of perception. The other side of perception is there's a beautiful aspect to it. If you learn to harness, or first of all acknowledge that, this interface or this mind is not perfect, and that yes, I want to work towards perfecting it. Of course, there are methods, technologies, tools out there that you can employ or utilize to actually enhance, um, or let's say to make those bulges in that mirror, or those dents in that mirror into straight, perfect mirror, so that whatever you see, you can rest assured that you're seeing it for what it is, and that you're not making things up, or you're not exaggerating it, or you're not belittling things. Yep, it is out there. Those techniques are out there, and most of it um, is, I would say, these techniques are found mostly in basically the Asian subcontinents, and these people have invested a lot into developing themselves. So, um, yeah, so perception based on these factors, which I've highlighted so far, is is quite intriguing, and that's why I've decided to talk on this topic today, and to make it, make my subscribers or my viewers aware of this topic, because um, without the right perception, you know, there are lots of disputes that happen. Sometimes failed marriages, sometimes uh, difficulty in understanding another person. So, um, without any further ado, I just want to thank you for tuning in for this episode of The Power of Perception, and also recapping on some of the things I've just talked about. I talked about the mind and how it acts as a mirror, and how not having a perfect mirror can distort the image of whatever you see, and how those, let's say, uh, can be enacted into certain other faculties of senses, like your hearing, your taste, your smell, everything, right? All other senses it can translate to. And also, there are methods and techniques out there to enhance or improve your perception. Um, so these tools, techniques, tips I will be sharing with you in upcoming videos, so you can look forward to them, because I'm also studying these things and also revealing to you as how I learned them and how I experienced them. But some of these things is actually coming to you as a result of my experience, as how I have unfolded in my head. So I hope this makes sense to you, and you can look forward to tomorrow for another episode from Liformation. If you do like this content, please subscribe and like my video. There'll be more coming up. Thank you and have a nice day.